Welcome. In today's video, we will be taking a look at the Svord Mini Peasant. That is Svord. Very interesting little knife. Saw this on Max Level EDC's channel. Got me interested in it, so I checked it out. Tried buying it from Svord Canada, but the site was a little glitchy when I tried to buy it, so I went and got one from eBay. No big deal. These are designed in New Zealand. Very interesting. High carbon steel, and you'll see why in a moment. Not sure what steel specifically, but it is definitely not stainless. But this is a very simple friction folder. This is the first friction folder that I have ever gotten, and I'm actually enjoying this quite a lot. And I have done a few things to the knife already, because this is a very customizable knife in and of itself. And one hand opening and closing takes a little getting used to, but it is there. We have a very simple drop point blade. You can see the Svord stamped into the metal there. And I don't know how well this is showing up on camera, but you can kind of see it. There is a faint line about halfway down the blade, and that happens to coalesce with, you can kind of see it there a little bit. There you go. Kind of see that arch going down the blade. That is the moisture of it being in my pocket lining up with the curve of the knife handle. So I've been carrying this for a few days now, and already we're getting that, but I'm trying not to oil it too much just yet, because I want to see how fast it rusts before you really have to start taking care of it. And then, as you know, rust has been a bit of an issue with some of my knives, and that's intentional. I wanted to see what the rust was. And this will rust, obviously. But not too bad, not too quick. And out of box, it came really nice and sharp. I've been honing the edge a little bit because I just have a leather strop and I just like going over. So I can't, if I do a test, it's not going to really be accurate per se to the out of box sharpness, but it was slicing paper out of box. And that was very nice to see. We'll take this piece of paper here. Now, I've been messing around with this and cutting some weird stuff today. It does need to be touched up. I've been trying to beat it up, but it does kind of slice through paper. And I'm enjoying this. There's a few drawbacks, but I am actually quite happy with this knife. And I think for $30 or whatever you'd pay for this wood-handled one is the more expensive one. If you get the plastic handles, they're about $19, which is really pretty good for a cheap, style pocket knife. But this is a really, really interesting little knife. Came sharp. This is a good beater blade. Really beating it up. And as a size comparison, we'll compare it to the Opinel number 8. This is their most common size. And as you can see, it's a little bit shorter. We'll throw a standard Swiss Army knife in here just for comparison. And the thing with the slip joint, or friction folder, is that you have that tang that sticks out when the knife is closed. That may be something that you like. It may not be something that you like. Comparing it to an Opinel, they're very similar. They're wood, they're cheap, they're simple. But if you're wanting to go old-fashioned to start with, I'd almost suggest start with an Opinel. Work your way up to this. And I forgot the packaging. I usually don't do the packaging because it's the basic brand advertisements, not anything particular to the knife. But when you order this Svord Peasant knife, it comes in this little cardboard sleeve here, made in New Zealand. Comes in here just like so. Size comparison. Comes with a little fun thing on the back. First available only to first-class peasants. Are you good enough? I hope so. Made in New Zealand, Svord.com. I was trying to buy these from Svord Canada, because that's where Max Level EDC bought his, and the site just had a little glitch, and I was impatient, and so I got one off of eBay. Sorry to whoever runs that Svord Canada site, but please do check them out. Nice little box there. Comes with a sleeve, a little pamphlet on how to keep your product nice and stuff. You can pause the screen whenever to try to read that better. If you have this on high res, you got a little registration thing, little maintenance bit. There you go. Hopefully that shows up on camera for you. But the packaging, actually nice little packaging, fun little jab at the customer there. That's something that most knife companies don't do, and I think they should do in a way. Not necessarily jabbing at the customer, but add some character to the boxes. Don't just have Benchmade on it and have nothing else, which those are very nice boxes, don't get me wrong, but a little bit more characterization couldn't hurt. And being I have looked around and I have seen mixed reviews amongst many people. Some say the knife came out too stiff, some say it came out where it just dropped open, and it's kind of assembled by hand where you could just twist that with your thumbnail when you get it out of the box. But it's very simple. It takes this very simple flathead. These are not D-shank screws here. They are completely round, so they will swivel, but you're not going to be tightening this so tight where you need to have a countersink or a counter screw to drive that. Just the one will work. And something that I have done is I have taken a small brass ring. I don't have any others on hand at the moment, but there's this little brass ring that you can buy from Hobby Lobby. Not a split ring, but like just take a round tube and they bend it over and it's pinched at one end. Little brass copper thing. You can find it in the necklace department of a Hobby Lobby if you have a Hobby Lobby nearby. And that is the perfect width for the knife right there. And since the knife is going to touch the screw post anyway, because the little pin that they drop inside for this to press against so that the knife blade does not go all the way out the back is kind of misplaced. You know, you're going to be hitting that brass screw post anyway. Hitting the washer isn't going to really do much. You know, it's not going to hurt the blade all that much. It's not going to not hurt the blade all that much. It's just there. And what it does for me is it keeps the wood spaced, because without it, the wood will pinch closed. And that can be a good thing depending on how you like your knife. That pinch at the base can hold the knife shut in your pocket. Now, I've carried this in my pocket without a sleeve for a few days now, and it has not come open on me in my pocket, so I do not fear that. But this is let me get my thoughts together here. You're going to be, it's cheap. It's not a high-end knife. You're going to have some issues with it, probably. It's not bad issues, but discrepancies. I really do like this knife. I would recommend getting one. This is fantastic. The wood is solid. The screw post is in very deep. Like, it's not going to go, the little brass stop pin is in deep. It's not going to pop out on you. I've put some stress on this. Your hand, when it's closed, will keep the blade from closing on you. Depending on what happens, it may give, a little bit like that, but your hand is going to keep that from just closing all the way on you. And some knives are going to have that screw post is probably going to be off just a little bit. And so some knives may open like that all the way. And mine goes all the way in like that. So the thought of having a lanyard on this is kind of nonplussed, because it's going to get pinched in there. What I did do, two of the other things that I did to the handle when I got it, was I took some sandpaper, and with the knife assembled and the blade out like that, like so, I stuck some folded up sandpaper in there and rubbed this little section right here so that the tang goes in better, because I like to have this knife blade in there very stiff. It does come with 2 small brass washers to give it some extra slippage, and maybe down the road I might take my washers that I have in here and try some different ones out to see what works. I even have some bearing washers in there that I might try. something that you can really crimp down on the knife, but still have a good movement. We'll see. That might be something I'll do down the road. But for right now, the 3 main customizations that I have done to this knife was sandpaper this a little bit so that the tang would fit better. I've put a small washer, not really a washer, but a ring inside the handle around the screw post. It was just the right size to go over the screw post to act as a spacer for the handle. And as you can tell from the picture here, this comes to a sharper point at the base of the handle than what mine is. I'm slowly rounding that off because I like a rounder base to that handle. And that's what's nice about this knife, is that it's like an Opinel. It's very customizable. As some of you that have an Opinel may know, it doesn't come with those little engravings or a lanyard hole. I've done that myself as a fun little project of just customizing this knife to something interesting. Another note is that the Svord knife seems just a micron thicker than the Opinel blade. It's at least the same thickness as the number 8 blade, but it might be just a wee bit thicker. One way to tell is, does it fit in the slot? And it's very, very, very snug fit there. So it is just a little bit wider than the Opinel blade. The Opinels, as you know, lock, and that can be an issue in some places. Whereas this knife does not lock, but is still a very safe knife to use. I'd also like to compare it to the Opinel number 6 when opened. Very similar size. If you like the Opinel number 6 as a pocket knife, you might be interested in the Svord Peasant. About the same length, tip to stern. Definitely a thicker blade on the Peasant knife than the Opinel. So if you're into more durable tasks around the house, you want a more beater knife, this may be the way to go. It's got pretty much a full flat grind going all the way up. An even grind when I got it out of box, just a little bit wider up here than down here, but a very good smooth grind across the board, with probably just a slightest little divot up here where it would be touching the screw post. But that's fine. Like I said, this is not a high-class knife. This is a peasant knife. A peasant knife. This is not for royalty. This is the beater knife. This is the cheap knife that you buy. You beat it up. If it breaks, you don't cry about it. And something I forgot to mention is that there is also a larger version. This is the Svord Mini Peasant. They also have a full-size, larger peasant knife. Very interesting. I may get one down the road. But I bought this with my own money. I'm not sponsored by Svord or Svord Canada, but I was wanting to support Svord Canada because Max Level EDC bought his from there. Go check out Max Level EDC because he's done a pretty good review on these. Check out Second Chance George, I think his channel is. He's talked about that a little bit. Just type in Svord Mini Peasant Knife. There's only a few guys that have talked about it. Peruse through that and see what they have to say. I personally like the high carbon aspect. It's going to patina nicely. I'm going to let it rust a little bit more because I like the looks. And I have been polishing on this, so whatever rust you see here is like so ingrained into the knife blade that if I was to cut food with it, the rust isn't going to get in the food. If I've been spending hours with leather strops and stuff trying to get that out and it doesn't come out, it's not going to come out into my food when I cut a sandwich. So I'm pretty safe with the rust here. I really like this knife. Some people worry about it popping open in the pocket, and it could do that. It may do that to me, but so far, in the few days that I've carried this, it has not happened. And I usually carry it tipped down in my pocket like so. The tang of the knife going up, it's poking upwards. So that, and also it's kind of nice to have it like that because when you pull it out of your pocket, if you got a bunch of stuff in your pocket that keeps it right side up, you pull it out and you've got it ready to go. I like to also point out that it fits quite nicely in an Oak and Derby sleeve. Consider checking out Oak and Derby. He makes fantastic leather goods. I have 2 of them in my possession, this being one of them, and I do use these to hold various knives of mine that I like. And if you're interested in handmade, USA made leather goods that are high quality and very durable among many things, consider Oak and Derby. He's on Etsy, he's got a YouTube channel, check him out on Instagram, Oak and Derby. But the Svord mini Peasant fits in there quite nicely. So, that's a lengthy review for a single pocket knife here. I got kind of rambly there, but I think this knife deserved some rambling. I personally like having the handle rounded over. There's one guy, on YouTube that swapped the knife blade from this side to that side. He drilled a little hole in the handles for the stop pin in there, switched it around, and it looks great that way. I may consider doing that myself down the road, but for now, I like that teardrop shape of everything. It's just classy, it's nice. Maxwell EDC filed the side of this down a little bit to make more of a flathead Phillips head driver. Very interesting little trick that he did there, but I don't think I'm going to do much to the blade other than the rust and the patina. So, with that said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and informational. Hope it helps you build your EDC to your standards. And until the next time, farewell, carry well, and a bye-bye.